What was a reason you lost interest in a girl halfway through the first date? She told me how she lied to me 3 times before we had even met. But it doesn't make a difference, right? She lied about her age. I didn't care that much. She did look older than she claimed. But I thought it was unusual for that to be an opening conversation starter. She lied about where she lived. I also knew this. I knew the area. And she didn't. She was afraid of being stalked if she gave out her real address. Funny thing was, I never asked for it. In conversation, I talked about places I grew up, went to school, worked, and she volunteered info. Then she was late for our first date. She told me she had driven by the bar to check me out first. And I guess I passed. She went home to change. And that's why she was 30 minutes late. I texted her to let her know I was at the place 10 minutes early, and I'm not a really early person. I texted her again when she was 15 minutes late. I got sorry. On my way. I figured I'd get whatever the explanation was later. When I heard this, I was done. I ordered another double whiskey and I mentally checked out there. She was gorgeous, engaging and fun. I'm out with a girl who I literally can't believe agreed to go out with me. Dinner was great. We go to a bar for drinks afterward, and she tells me a story about how she cheated on her then husband on a work trip. Told me how she never told him, and eventually they divorced for other reasons. I just couldn't look at her the same after that. WTF. Good on her for being truthful at least on your date and saving ya the hassle. She talked about herself mostly and didn't ask jackass about me. To keep from the awkward silence I kept engaging in questions about her. I felt dead inside and cut the date short with an excuse. Just be silent. She'll try to fill it. Or she will look at you like, do something dumb as lol. So, no need to respond to that either. I've noticed narcissists I've talked with will ask a question after a while. It might sound manipulative, but it's pretty like manipulation to reinforce a socially positive behavior. One if the first things she asked about me was my salary. Honestly, I think it's better that these girls make it clear what they are from the start. I live in this camp, too. It's the devious ones who hide their true natures that you have to watch out for. The most popular method of scaring me off was letting crazy s drop from her mouth. Let people talk. It can save you a lot of trouble later. Let people talk. It can save you a lot of trouble later. This. People love to share things about themselves given the chance, let alone personal things on the first date. She liked her phone more than me apparently. That's even annoying when it's friends and you're trying to hang. It wasn't a first date. More like third or fourth. We had a good time together with some great conversations. Held hands but no flirting or sexual messages, which I thought was strange. At the dinner table, my date said if we were to start seeing each other properly then there are some things she'd like to say first. I was floored when asked, "Are you one of those perverts who watches porn?" Followed by, "Will I always be after sex?" Then went in to explain that her marriage, which only lasted a couple of years, failed because her ex-husband was always pestering for sex. Watched porn then cheated. My date finished by saying that she never has desire for sex, doesn't enjoy it, it's messy and does not understand why it's such a deal. After dropping her off, peck on cheek, then driving home, my phone pinged. Sat on the driveway. My jaw dropped as my now ex-date had dumped me. The text explained how disappointed she was in me and could tell by my reactions to her conversation I was obviously just like her ex-husband, selfish and only think with my groin. Possibly a month later, the ex-date text and asked if I'd thought about my reactions that night and had a word with myself. I did not reply. It was like pulling teeth to get her to express an opinion about anything. The amusing part was that afterwards her stepdad, who I worked with, said she had a great time and is looking forward to doing it again. So you're just back from 2 years in Europe. Where did you go? All over deadpanned. Did anything interesting happen? Nope. See anything cool? Nope. Paraphrased. But you get the idea. Lol, I wold blatantly left. I commend you guys for sitting through these occasions. It wasn't a date. I got approached by a girl who asked me where I was from. I said ancestrally Turkish. She then gave me a long monologue about how religion is super important to her and she wants to settle down with a nice Muslim man. She also told me she recently broke up with her boyfriend, who she still loves, but the fact he's Christian was a deal breaker for her. I just sat there, too scared to tell her I'm not Muslim. She can't have been terribly devout considering she had boyfriend to break up with, so it's a little strange that him not being a Muslim was the deal breaker. Calling men scum or otherwise disparaging any large swath of humanity, especially one I happen to belong to. You seem to be giving an example of what would make you lose interest vs what made you lose interest. It has made me lose interest on several occasions. We quickly ran out of things to talk about. I had a similar experience. We had matched on a dating site and had a few conversations that were pleasant but short. I brushed it off as her being busy. She was doing an internship at the time plus a regular job, and maybe online chat just wasn't her thing. So asked her on a date to have a proper time and place to get to know each other. I know I'm not a great conversationalist, and it became somewhat evident that maybe she wasn't either. During the date, I was willing to accept that maybe we are just two introverted people, so it was normal for the conversation to not flow effortless. As a result, I spent most of the date making efforts to hold a conversation, bounding different topics off of her and such. Up until the end of the date, I was still entertaining the possibility of a second date, because I felt our lack of free conversation was more due to our respective introverted personality than anything else, and this would get better once we would know each other more. What happened though is that when the server came with our checks, I had non-stop conversation with her for a good 5 minutes about a music festival in town, and I realized that more was said in those 5 minutes without any effort than for the whole hour with my date. My conclusion from that was either that we weren't compatible, or my date wasn't interested. She asked if she could bring her best friend along for security, which was fine by me, even though we were meeting at a coffee shop. She looked much heavier in person than online. She and best friend started reminiscing for probably an hour about their high school glory days. It was obvious both these girls peaked in high school. They also gloated about how they were "mean girls," their words, and how they would party out in the woods and shoot guns in the air. Yikes. I actually stuck around longer than I normally would, because I wanted to see where the train wreck would go. Eventually, after probably 15 minutes of uninterrupted conversation between date and her best friend, they start talking about how they hate when dudes come on their face. Ended up making an excuse and leaving. She messaged me on the dating app afterwards asking how it went, and I just said something like "you seem fun, but I don't think it will work," and then blocked her out of embarrassment. Should have said the "no come on the face" was a deal breaker. It was wildly clear she had man issues. All the world's issues are due to white males. Me being a white man, that wasn't working in her favor. I actually decided to at least finish dinner and told her we weren't a great match as I paid the tab. She called me a hateful asshole and walked out. I texted a couple of buddies and met up at a Stars game instead. Worked out well, I think. Yep. Why would you date a woman that wants you to hate yourself for your race and gender? She wanted free dinner. Yeah, what an asshole. Paying for her dinner. She had every little detail of her future planned for the next 5 years. The whole date felt like the most official job interview I'd ever been. Except the role was her boyfriend. If I'd be okay with buying a house front neighborhood XXX with a floor plan and list if details about the house. She said these are non-negotiable, but I could pick the color, when there would be kids, pets etc was planned for, how often sex would happen, what would be the pastime in the evenings etc. The amount of detail was incredible in the plans, and how everything had been assigned optional, negotiable for compromise or definitely missed or similar categories. Talked about her job future in extreme detail as well. This was before Corona, so I'd love to know how her plan is going. Probably had infinite backup plans. Man, who needs a fortune teller? She got it mapped out, lol. She kept talking about one of my best friends. She was on a date with me, and he had a girlfriend. Ended the date, and never asked her out again. Shrieking laugh giving me S for the types of foods I choose not to eat, texting / being on the phone. Halfway through her second 22-ounce beer, She told me she had a suspended license because of multiple DUIs. Why'd you stay for all those beers? Okay, so she was finishing her first 22-ounce beer when I got to the bar on time, which means she got to the bar early just so she could down the equivalent of 2 beers before I even showed up. When I sat down, she ordered her second round, which she finished while I was drinking my first normal sized beer, and then she ordered a third. When I finished my single beer, I paid for mine and wished her good luck getting home. Okay. She wasn't interested in me. I think she wanted me to be on a date with her, but like she seemed to not care about me existing as a person there. I feel this one, bruh. It hurts so badly when I realized that. I thought she'd be different. First woman to ever not pressure me for sex in the first month. She decided to pick a fight with the biggest dude in the bar and got mad at me for not stepping in. Her husband kept calling. Husbands can be so needy sometimes. That's why I never date a woman with one. They take up way too much of her time. Treated the waiter like shit and then talked smack on him like he was stupid. When she had zero hobbies or interest beyond her small world, no travel, not interested in traveling, and no personality of her own. Do you have any hobbies or interest you're passionate about? Oh, not really, I mostly just nap and post on Instagram. Alright then, good for you. Yep, I find I just nap, watch Netflix, and play video games because I'm too scared to go out into the real world. Type to be extremely boring. I feel personally attacked.